Folks, this is Invest Now America. I'm your host, Corbin, often called Coach Corbin by my students. And this is really about our second episode that we're doing. And I just want to remind our listeners, what we're here to do is we're here to educate you. We're not here to tell you what to buy, what not to buy. We're here to educate you. And we hope that you learn something and then follow up with some of the books that we may recommend. We have with us today Mr. Justin Yurt. He's an inspiring certified financial planner, and he works for Guidance Capital here in Louisville, Kentucky. And by the way, that is a fantastic company. They've been extremely helpful to me. They're a great company. I love them to death. And so if some of you out there are saying, hey, I got a big chunk of money here, I need to invest it, I strongly encourage you, please contact Guidance Capital in Louisville, Kentucky. They're not only just good at what they do, but I've found each and every one of those folks to be highly ethical. Brother Yurt, we're here to talk to you about cryptocurrency. Now,
Yes, sir.
Go easy on us, man. We're not the brightest bulb in the pack. So first of all, man, what is cryptocurrency?
All right. So I'm going to come at you with the book definition because it's easy to twist words and make it seem like something different. And then I'm going to kind of come back with my own definition to help people understand. The book definition of cryptocurrency is a digital asset with a primary function to work as a medium of exchange value within a peer-to-peer economic system. Now, what does that mean? I like to break it down and think like PayPal or Venmo, but on a global scale where you aren't exchanging a currency. So you're not exchanging like US dollar for US dollar, or you're not exchanging US dollar for British pound or any other currency. You're exchanging one currency that's like say Bitcoin. You're sending your Bitcoin to someone else and like an electronic exchange system,
Okay.
and they receive it as Bitcoin. And they could be in Tokyo, Japan, and you could be in Seattle, Washington, or wherever, and it's Bitcoin. It's not exchanging, so it's staying the same.
Wow.
So it's a pretty interesting thing.
Right.
A lot of people think it's a lot more complicated than it is on the surface level.
Right.
It's just like sending someone an online transaction. That's how the exchange happens.
Uh-huh.
So it's very similar. We're very accustomed to the ins and outs of it already, really.
Well, brother, I'm laughing because I've read a lot of articles on cryptocurrency, and that's got to be one of the best definitions I've ever heard. I mean, I understood it. I get it.
I see. That's the thing is, I wasn't always this studious guy that read a lot and was just trying to learn as much as possible. I had a hard time understanding things in high school. I had to find ways, and even in the beginning of college, and I had to find ways to walk it back into terms that I could understand.
Right.
And so I like to do that for other people because I know how much I can help.
Right. Well, I mean, that helps a lot. And I want to touch upon the parts of that definition you gave. Like,
Sure.
I've done a lot of travel overseas. So, I had US dollars. I went to South Africa, had to exchange it into rands. Then from South Africa, I went to Botswana. I had to change my money from rands to pulas. But you're saying that's not the situation with crypto.
Right. Not at all. You're exchanging. Well, and the thing is, there's a ton of different crypto. So we're not only talking Bitcoin here, but I like using Bitcoin as the example because most people that are familiar with crypto obviously know Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So when you're exchanging Bitcoin, yeah, like you said, there's not this when you get through borders, you got to go exchange your currency with a teller or a machine. You have it in your ledger or your wallet that's electronic, and you can send it to anybody else with a wallet. And it stays as Bitcoin. There's no exchange, but you can exchange it for other cryptos if you wish.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, but it's like you say, if you wish, it's not a necessity.
Right.
Okay. Now, then you also said person-to-person transaction. So you're telling me the government's not involved, the credit cards company's not involved, the bank's not involved?
Exactly. And I'm sure we'll hit on it somewhere else in this, but that's the one of the major points of cryptocurrency is the decentralization of it. They want to get away from something that's regulated by a government or some sovereign entity, just to have a worldwide currency that can be exchanged. And there's not one government says the exchange rate or what it's worth, or has the ability like the Fed does to pump up inflation and things like that. That's the kind of the point of not having any government entity or sovereign entity involved, is to eliminate the chance for them to manipulate the value or push the value one way or the other. It's just supposed to be completely decentralized. No one controls it.
So it's not now this, I'm throwing this term out there, not because I just don't understand it. Fiat currency. What is that?
Okay. So here's another one. It's a lot more simple than people think. Most of the time when you're using a currency, you're using a fiat currency. Mm-hmm. All that means is it's a government issued currency that's not backed by a physical commodity. Mm-hmm. So like before 1971, the US was on the gold standard. So we didn't have a fiat currency until 71 when we switched off. And then we did. Once we switched off, it turned, we now have that fiat currency like most countries. There are some out there that back it with commodities, still smaller countries, less developed countries. But, most of your developing nations use a fiat currency. Mm-hmm. Or sorry, your developed nations use a fiat currency.
But it's not, so the fiat currency is not based on gold. So what is that government saying to you? Is the government basically saying to you, hey, trust us?
Yep. It is backed. Like if you look at a dollar bill, I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it says backed by the full faith and power of the United States government.
Okay.
That's essentially what you're getting. It's backed by the full faith and power of the United States government.
Wow.
I think, yeah. So, which honestly, I'm going to take that bet. It's pretty good government backing me, to be honest. I mean, exchange rates can go up and down, but it's always going to have a value unless the country crumbles. So
right.
I'll take their backing right now. I don't need the gold standard,
Okay. All right. And is that why we came off the gold standard under the Nixon administration? They were basically expressing that attitude, what you just expressed?
So my guess would be, and this is my opinion, I would say that they wanted to avoid any volatility, extreme volatility. Gold isn't extremely volatile, but it does from time to time see large shifts in prices due to random events. I'm sure you saw like silver shot up 2 weeks ago and gold shot up, but not quite as much. So things like that. I believe it was to get away from the volatility because, if gold's worth $3,000 an ounce one day and then $3,500 the next, then your $10 bill just went up in value. It's like, well, that doesn't make much sense. So, I think it was to get away from the volatility and the price fluctuation.
But don't we have volatility with crypto? Now, like you said, there are different types of cryptocurrencies, Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash and all, but isn't there a lot of volatility with cryptocurrency?
There's an extreme amount of volatility with cryptocurrency, which is why it's not really ready to be accepted as a true currency. That's something that I don't know how you solve the volatility. I think it's something that comes with education and like progression within that sector. Mm-hmm. So I think it's something down the road. We'll see. We won't see these 10, 15% price changes in a day or two. Mm-hmm. I think that'll stop happening eventually, at least for these larger players like Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Right.
I think it has to if it ever wants to be taken serious as a currency, because no one wants to buy something that's worth $5,000 one day and $4,000 the next, and you don't. It's going to go back up. So and use that as your currency. So it's got some time. It's not like next year we're going to wake up and Bitcoin's going to be our national currency or the worldwide currency. It's things happen slower than people think.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But and you say part of the reason why it has that volatility is that it's sort of young, it's new. We're still trying to figure some things out. But is the volatility ever in any way connected to like political events or natural disasters or anything like that?
Absolutely. Not so much natural disasters. Not that it wouldn't be possible. I just haven't seen it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But political events, yeah, or even events within the economy. That's where you see it the most. Like with Tesla, they just pumped 1.5 billion into Bitcoin a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
like that's a huge endorsement. You just one of the biggest companies in the United States just put a massive bet on it.
yeah.
So things like that are really what are driving these volatile shifts, as well as I think it was 2 years, it was 3 years ago, I believe, when I was in college during the first big crypto boom. I think it was a sophomore. The government was like looking into it, and they were starting to consider, uses for it, and that's what was sort of spiking it at the time, among other things. So whenever the government or any regulatory agencies or even large companies get involved, that's where you're going to see these volatile spikes. And there's many other reasons so that the volatile spikes will come. But yes, to answer your question, the government can drive some of those volatile swings.
I heard a rumor that banks are buying a lot of Bitcoin. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah. So something I was going to get into at some point here was people are starting to see it as somewhat of an investment because of, or a true investment really, because of how when people get worried, they want to shift out of cash, or they want to shift into cash from any type of investments, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if you're in cash and you're still worried that the government's going to fail or something bad's going to happen, you don't want to be in that cash, right? Because if the U.S. government failed, it's worth nothing. You can't go use it in another country. Right. So that's when you're like, well, what else can I do? Oh, wait, there's Bitcoin, this global currency that anybody can use anywhere that would accept it, obviously, or anyone can exchange anywhere. It sounds like a pretty good idea. So you get these people that are, scared of the government failing or anything like that, moving into Bitcoin as sort of a alternative or a hedge against the U.S. dollar value. And so that's where some people are starting to see it as an investment. So when you see these companies that are taking positions in it, they're actually, my guess is these are small positions of their investments. Because you don't want to have 10% or more of your investment wrapped up in something that can dip 50% in a week.
Wow.
So, we're talking less than 5% of these funds and companies' investable assets are going into these, would be my guess. Right. I wouldn't recommend cryptocurrency as an investment at this point to any client, to any of my clients or anybody for that matter, because of the uncertainty. I think of it, full disclosure, I do dabble in crypto. I own some, but I would never say go buy it right now. I would never recommend it. Only I think of it when I buy crypto, like when I spend that money, I'm not getting it back. That's kind of how I look at it.
Right. Okay.
I'm putting it in an account, and 5 years from now, if it doubles, wonderful. If I don't have it, I took a shot on something while I was young. Right. So that's how I look at it right now, because the volatility is so uncertain. So
yeah, I can't remember exactly when I bought some cryptocurrency. I have a PayPal account, and all of a sudden they said, "Oh, you can buy Litecoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin Cash starting off as little as $5." Well, I'm broke, but I ain't that broke, so I put in some money, and then I sort of left it alone. Really basically sort of forgot about it, went back, looked at it, and I said, oh my God, they made a mistake. They put some extra money in my account. I ain't giving it back, but I did a little more research on it, and that thing really just shot up. But brother, no exaggeration. I really kept, weekly, looking at it weekly, and there were some times I said, oh my God, this thing's going to zero. Yeah. It was just, you talk about volatility. My Lord, just up and down and up and down. If it was Kroger or something, I would have left it. I would have let it go. But man, but it fascinates me. It fascinates me to know when. I think the one thing I like about it, and I'd appreciate if you could sort of comment on this. I like the idea that the possibility exists that no government or bank could ever just say, "Hey, we're shutting this down," or "Hey, we're regulating this." Is that, am I totally off base on that?
So, no, you're not totally off base. The issue that comes up is there's so many things in the United States and other countries that run through the government. Banks run through the government. So for a bank to just start accepting Bitcoin or providing, exchanging Bitcoin for cash, they'd have to get the okay from the government.
Okay.
And therefore, you're starting to come in on regulations, not being regulated directly on Bitcoin, but the entities that would be exchanging it and things of that nature. So for Bitcoin to be a real worldwide player as a currency, there's going to be some regulation. I really, really hope it's minimal. I don't want it to become highly regulated where they can control the price fluctuations. I think that's kind of the point. The point is to be decentralized. So hopefully it can stay that way and it can prove itself as a true currency player. I just unfortunately I think with how hands-on so many governments are today, it's going to be tough for it to stay completely unregulated.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm with you 100% on that. I just hope the regulation is just minimal. That's the one thing that really drew me to it, and it's kept me involved in it and trying to educate my listeners and supporters about it is, I'm just totally intrigued by the fact that, hey, I have that possibility of dealing directly with somebody. Hey, I want to buy this. Okay, I'll sell you this. How much would this cost me in cryptocurrency? I just really intrigued with that. But does it also open up the possibility of people in developing nations who have no bank accounts to suddenly be part of the game, so to speak?
Absolutely. You actually only have to, it's actually way easier than you think to be able to buy, trade, and sell cryptocurrency. You really just need an internet connection. You don't have to have there don't have to be a certain bank in your neighborhood. You can just, if you can get on the internet, you can buy Bitcoin. You can buy any crypto for that matter. So yes, absolutely. And then as far as, so you do have to store it on what's called a wallet. The safest way is to buy a piece of hardware called a ledger that you actually, I keep mine hidden in my house. And that's what I store my cryptocurrency on. That's just the safest way to do it. So they do have to be able to access that wallet or ledger in order to use the currency, transfer it back and forth, or buy something from someone or sell it to someone else. So yes, it does. There are still a couple steps in between. So they would have to have internet, a wallet to hold it on, and currency that they could exchange it with. But at this point, I think most countries would have a currency that would accept a crypto exchange. So, or at least could exchange their currency into another one that would accept it.
Okay. Well, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate this, brother. I hope that sometime that we can bring you back for my listeners. And just this is Invest Now America. I'm your host, Coach Corbin, and we're talking to Justin Yurt, is it? Aspiring certified financial planner. This is a really hardworking, motivated, passionate brother. Works for Guidance Capital, one of the best daggone companies in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And he's been talking to us, educating us about cryptocurrency. And again, I hope that we can bring him back because I learned a lot. And 15, 20 minutes is just not a lot of time. There's so much more we can learn. Brother, do you have any concluding remarks you'd like to make?
Sure. Yeah. If I would just say one thing to cap it off, if you're interested in Bitcoin or crypto in general, definitely look into it. It's very fun to learn about, but do take precautions or take caution in investing in it. If you put $1,000 in, you could have $0 in a week. It could go to zero. That can happen. It could also triple. So you got to know what you're getting into. It's a very volatile sector. The cryptocurrency sector is. So just understand that what you're getting into can be tough. You could lose it all, or you could make millions. I mean, you just never know. But definitely try to learn about it before you just put some money in it. Is what I would say. so you know what can drive it up and down, what exactly you're investing in, because it's not just currency. There's technology that the currencies are based on, which is why some people like some other than others.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
Let me jump on what you just said, brother. Learn. Let's learn. Let's go out there. Let's do a due diligence. Let's do our research. One book I'd like to quickly recommend is Cryptocurrency Investing for Dummies. And so you can go to Better World Books or Thrift Books or Amazon.com and put that in their search engine, Cryptocurrency and Investing for Dummies. That's the beginning book. One book you may want to check out. And that's recommendations coming from me, not Brother Justin. I'm not trying to put words in his mouth. Don't need to put words in this young man's mouth. He's educated. He's educated.
I will say one more thing. A great website. I know you mentioned that in our talks before. Binance Academy. So it's like finance with a B. Mm-hmm. They're sort of one of the leaders on cryptocurrency education. So you can buy and sell on their website, but you can also use it to learn. They have a lot of videos, articles, kind of crash course.
You say BinanceAcademy.com?
I believe, okay, so it's actually backwards. It's academy.binance.com.
Academy.binance.com.
Yep.
Okay.
That's where I did a lot of my reading in the beginning and still do some of mine. Whenever I get confused or can't quite remember something, I'll hop on there and find an article. So
Academy.binance.com. Okay. Yep. All right, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate you. We will be in touch. Okay. And I'll definitely let you know once we have this posted and all.